Hey, boys and girls, Saturday Night at the Atheist. And I just got my 400th sub 1 hour ago.
How many soccer accounts did you have to create?
I did not have to create any. I did have to nudge a friend who had not subbed to my goddamn channel, but she was sitting here.
So 400 subscriber level.
Yeah, she's the 400th, so which is pretty cool.
This means she'll be less likely to unsub herself.
Yep. Yeah, because I know where she lives.
There you go.
Yeah. Fucking just try that shit with me. Don't try that shit with me. Anyway, Demonic Atheist here has no meaning. We have no meanings in our life. I don't know if you knew that or not. Our life is meaningless because it's going to end someday. Does that make any fucking sense to anybody? I mean,
not when you own two cute puppies.
Boy, I don't know what my problem was today, but I was kind of like thinking about that, kind of like that, like trying to understand the Christians or the young Earth creationists. What kind of, I don't know why. That was kind of going through my head. Like you said, does that make any sense? And some of the things, like, you listen to so many of these conversations and, they get into the demonic stuff and, this person is possessed by the devil and they got the devil in them or whatever. And you try to figure that shit out. And yeah, it's really hard to understand. It really is.
Yeah. Whenever you spend more than like a minute talking about a demon and not in the context of a movie, then I think you've got an unhealthy fixation anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I actually was talking to my wife about it, and I'm like, what do you think of that? I'm like, isn't that kind of get on into the kind of like the crazy part of it? Like, I don't know. I don't know how you can, but a lot of these people believe that stuff, and it's a part of that, the Christianity, I guess. I don't know.
It's like because you wrote a manual for caring for your wild unicorn, that you're a veterinary expert in the area of unicorns. It's like, yeah, you can make any kind of shit up, but that doesn't mean you're talking about anything.
Right. And it's, like I said, I spent part of my day kind of listening to a few different things. And actually, I don't know if you guys noticed, Sal kind of came on a stream yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was on John's stream, I think, wasn't it?
He got he inspired the description on the show when he was talking about how atheists had no meaning in their lives.
Yeah,
right. Don't mean anything.
Man, he sure harped on that a lot.
And I'm certainly don't want to say anything about Sal. I'm not picking on him or anything like that, but I did listen to part of his conversation, and like I said, and I was listening to these other guys, like that stream yesterday with John and with Saagar and James Carter, and you listen to that stream, and of course those guys are PhDs. Did you hear the interesting questions that Pine Creek was asking them? That was very interesting. Yeah, that was very interesting. So I think that kind of inspired me when I heard that, right, and listening to and I listen to a lot of that stream, listening to those guys, and I don't know, maybe that inspired me to like you try to understand their way of thinking, like say for James Carter, right now he thinks everything is from the top down, which is, I mean, that's not what everything shows, right? I mean, it's the exact opposite, right? He thinks that everything came into existence immediately. Like, so
Yeah.
what does he mean by that? Like, I would have loved to have been able to ask him a question like, okay, what do you mean by, like, everything came into existence immediately? Like, where did it start? Obviously,
I call that the dinky dinky dink version of creation. I think of Samantha from Bewitched and how she twitched her nose and it went
Right.
dinky dinky dink and something magic would happen.
right. I mean, that's kind of what he was saying. But basically, I mean, well, we don't know the mechanism, but we know God created. So, but what does he mean by that? Like, where? At what point? In, like, at the beginning of the universe? At the beginning of life? Where? That's what I was wondering.
Now, I got a question. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
Do you know what his position is? I didn't really hear him elaborate any further than that.
Which one?
James
Saagar?
Carter, right? No, James Carter.
I think he's a yak. I think the other one is too, that Hayes. I think he might be a yak, but Saagar isn't.
Yeah.
Saagar believes.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, and I think what I got out of Saagar last night is he believes that we're going to discover some new law of the universe that basically shows teleology and chemistry. And that teleology, but Saagar, I think, is in a position where he won't deny anything we discover about evolution. Right now, he believes in evolution, and I don't think he would deny anything we discover about abio. He just believes that there's something else we're going to discover about information and teleology that's going to show that there was an intelligence behind it. So that's Sai's position. The other three on that panel were yaks, I think, all of them.
You know those little banners they'll show on the news stations at the end of the evening news that says coming up, whatever. I guess they're looking for some sort of sign like coming up, abiogenesis or something, or evolve into land creature.
So the other thing that's I'm still a little bit confused, like James Carter, for instance, right? I mean, he said everything came into existence in a blink of an eye, or however he described it. Now, and you say he's a yak, but what does that truly mean? Does that mean like he believes in Genesis on how he follows that, or it's like sometimes they don't necessarily follow that, right?
Yeah, but I think he does.
He does? Okay. I wasn't sure what his position really was like.
And that Ryan Hayes guy, I wasn't familiar with him. He's got some kind of an audio book on evolution, and he is a professor at a college called Andrews, and Andrews is a Bible college. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, yeah.
Let him in. But the thing that got me is this, like, okay, if you went to Disneyland and on your as you walk through the gate for the very first time, you said, I don't really want to be here. This is just meaningless because it's going to end. Because I have to, at some point, I'm not going to be at Disneyland anymore. So, I mean, that's kind of what they're saying about life, right? Life is meaningless because it's going to end.
Yeah, like a guy who has a shitty job, who when Sunday comes around, he just feels depressed all day because Monday's coming.
So anyway.
Did I break the YouTube?
No, I thought that was me at first. I was like, the fuck just happened?
Yeah, I know. That happened to me, too. It kind of died out.
I had to mute because I'm drinking crack water.
Oh.
Crack water's noisy. Hear that?
Yeah.
That's crack water.
That is crack water, definitely.
Yeah. Yep, I crack it with a hammer. I get it out of the freezer, crack it with a hammer, and pour some pure spring water on it. Oh my God, it's a Leo.
So I see you got this was what I listened to part of this conversation with Sal. Obviously, you listened to some of this. You got some of it timestamped.
I did, yeah. Then I caught this. This is the other part that really irritates me about Christianity. or most forms. Well, I don't know. Is it all of them? But listen to this.
What this whole stuff that's going on in the world right now is getting extraordinarily well. It's very interesting. It's bizarre, but it's also very interesting just from a eschatology perspective and just historic aspect. I mean, to me, when you contemplate these things that are escalating globally, I'm just like, okay, well, I've been claiming that we were. Oh, I'll put it this way: I claimed that the last 4 years were God's temporary timeout from the acceleration to the end of the world.
Okay, the Trump era was the timeout. Like things were all golden during the Trump era.
I'm really curious what Quantum John's position on the whole Israel-Palestine conflict would be, because I mean he's a Christian, so he's all about the Israelites must occupy their homeland in order for God to start the rapture. So
they were talking about some kind of thing, some big Jesus temple thing being on fire. Did anybody hear anything about that in the news? I don't know what they were talking about.
What about something in fire?
Well, that big, there's like a big hill somewhere in Jerusalem where Jesus, I think, was crucified. Was that it?
Yeah. Oh God, not Mount. Oh, give me a second.
Sermon on the Mount. That's not Sermon.
No, that's Sermon on the Mount. That's something that Jesus gave.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So.
Oh Jesus, I know the name. Mount Calvary. There we go. Mount Calvary.
Okay, but there was some kind of
it's in Israel. No, that's the Jesus was crucified on Mount Calvary in Israel.
Yeah, but there was some kind of a Muslim mosque or something that started on fire. It was in the news. They hadn't confirmed it, but they mentioned it. I think he mentioned it here. Alex Cox does. Listen.
And
wait, it wasn't the Great Mosque of
we're
Mecca?
Observing.
No, it had another weird name. I'm not sure.
Okay, was it an Islam sounding name?
Yeah, sort of.
Was it Masjid al-Haram?
Wasn't that Islam sounding? Somewhere in between. I don't know what those people do over there.
Did you say it was in Israel? Wait, you said it was in Israel?
I guess so.
Okay.
Well, let's listen. Listen.
Happening globally. I would say we are on a 100-mile-an-hour, or actually maybe faster. Let's say 1,000-mile-an-hour.
Oh, the Al-Aqsa
trajectory towards absolute chaos.
I think
we're in a nosedive right now. I heard that the Mosque of Omar was on fire.
That
I didn't know that, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I heard that today, and I can't find anything about it. But I heard that the Mosque of
I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But anyway, the point, the reason I played that clip is this bullshit that the earth, everything is so horrible today and things are getting so much worse and we're just heading downhill. I mean, do you believe that? Anybody else believe that we're going downhill?
No. The thing is the kind of when you examine, especially the fundamentals of at least American conservative ideology, what they want would be the acceleration of the downfall of humanity.
Yeah.
What conservatives, again, at least in America, think is the downfall of humanity is the world getting more equal for more brown people. That's what they're trying to stop.
I had a friend tell me when Trump got elected, and I expressed my concern that Trump didn't know how to handle he didn't know how to handle international affairs, and I was afraid that he might get us into some crap, right?
Yep.
And my friend said something about, well, I always thought the world was going to end, in nuclear holocaust. And he's a Bible thumper. And he almost sounded like he thought that was a good thing, that we might end, start a nuclear war, and that'll be the beginning of Armageddon. Because these assholes are looking forward to the demise of the world, and they control half of the Senate. I mean, Jesus, fucking Christ.
The other thing that this Alex Cox mentioned during this stream, I don't think I timestamped that, but he said that Donald Trump mentioned Jesus in the Oval Office, not just the Lord, but actual Jesus, and it made him cry.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, he said it during this conversation here somewhere.
Yeah.
Anybody who thinks Donald Trump's anything even remotely close to a Christian doesn't understand what Christianity is.
So Pine Creek came on here, and he's got a clip on his show, and he asked some really good questions. And I asked the same damn question. John did a call out for questions, and he read everybody else's question but mine. And my question was to ask each member, Saagar, Carter, and the other guy, Hayes, to ask them, do you think that there is something that makes abiogenesis impossible, or do you simply think that it's improbable? And I wanted, and John skipped over my fucking question.
Of course,
What a dick.
The thing is, somebody like Saagar would probably say, no, I mean, life arising through natural means, I don't think it's impossible. He just, I don't, and I think Sai's expresses, but he doesn't think it's impossible, just implausible. I don't know what James Carter's position would be.
Carter,
I don't really know much about him, but I do know that at least when he talks about biochemistry related to the origins of life, his understanding of it, or at least based on what he's saying, is about as adept as James Tour's. It's just a complete and utter misrepresentation of where the field is at and what they're researching.
Well, here's what you need to know about James Carter. I think I bookmarked it.
Watching a lecture on the sodium, potassium ion channels and the pump for the gradient, the charge balancing and everything. I'm sitting there going through. I mean, I'd learned this stuff years ago, but I was going into much more detail, higher level understanding. I was listening to lectures, they're showing animations, all these kind of things of it, and I was just sitting there like, "Good night, this is nuts." Right before even getting into the insulation, like, hang on, there's voltage for specifically to open the
maybe
cake.
they're saying it.
What? 1,840 amino acids. Yeah, functional bits, long as different function. Conduct a mechanical function.
No, this ain't it. It's something else. Shit, I mislabeled it. Damn it.
Well, wait, what was Quantum John going on about there? Was he trying to talk about, because there's like voltage and that there's like electronics present in, electricity present in life, that's astounding? Well, it's not. Yeah. Electricity is present in most macro level objects. I don't understand this whole, it's complex. Therefore, I just don't get it. I don't understand this. I can't fathom how nature did it, so it must not have been done by nature. I don't get this. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, sodium channels are real long proteins, and they loop in and out of the membrane. But there was some point, and somehow I mislabeled it. There was some point where James Carter kind of showed his true colors, what he really believes about God done it. And I'll have to find it again. Apparently, I lost it. But John was making the point that, it's voltage operated. And it's like a computer, and it's just so exciting. And sodium channels are not that complicated, and there are other kinds of sodium channels, and there's a whole family of the sodium channel proteins, and it's ubiquitous in life, and it was probably around very early.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about ion channels not really being much of a problem for origins of life.
Oh, let's see here. Is this the part where
20 years on creation, evolution, and intelligent design, even though I don't have quite as much evidence as I'd like, it was enough, because the alternative is the atheist viewpoint, which has nothing. It's like, false. Okay, how does I don't believe in God do anything for you in a situation like this?
Can you pause it right there really quickly? There's a point.
Keyword.
There is a point that I'd like to make to that, and this is a point I think against the sort of the lack-theist position that, well, I just don't believe. Like Sal is saying here, I do agree with him that it's vacuous. It does nothing for either side. It doesn't do anything to show that theism is less likely, and it doesn't do anything to bolster the likelihood of atheism, which is why I think that this whole lack-theist position is just redundant, honestly.
We're not going to fight about it.
Well, no, I was just pointing that out because I do think that was a good point that Sal made there.
Yeah, I don't. But anyway, no, he made a point that we have no meaning. Hang on a second here.
Because I've asked them how did they have meaning in their life, and they say you just make your own meaning. I'm like, okay, so you're just going to assume something without any evidence. How?
Wait, how does that?
You
what?
Declare yourself an atheist?
Nothing to do with meaning.
No, that has nothing to do with assuming something without evidence.
Yeah, that's not what meaning means. That I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
Make your own meaning in life. That simply means waking up with enough neurotransmitters in your brain that you have a good day, right? You go out, you make some breakfast, you take a shower, you go to work, you do things, you build a table. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with that? It's just like they think just because your life is going to end someday that it's meaningless. I mean,
I guess so. I don't know. By the way, I see we have Immutable Destiny in the YouTube chat. We've got good old Andrew Cumming in the YouTube chat. We've got Guts at Gibbon in the YouTube chat, and none of them are in the stream. On a beautiful Saturday evening, these fucking pansy-ass motherfuckers are going to show up, but only in the YouTube chat. What a bunch of mooks. Anyway, Scott, I didn't think about it at the time, but thinking back now that you mentioned it, I do remember him saying that law of teleology, which makes no sense because the whole thing is you can cite a handful of physicists and what have you that talk about how the universe appears to be fine-tuned. But the part that's skimmed over is they always talk about the appearance of fine-tuning. It seems to be fine-tuned. It appears to be fine-tuned. It's as if it's fine-tuned. But very few of them will say it actually is fine-tuned, because what does that term mean? That's the first thing I start with when I discuss this argument. And for the most part, I get some definition that we can work forward from. But the first question I always ask is, what do you mean when you say fine-tuning? I don't know what you're supposed to mean by that term. And then that's when I get on to how do we establish whether something is or is not fine-tuned?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna, because I don't have a lot of stuff bookmarked about Pine Creek. And Pine Creek did handle. He has a 10-minute clip that he cut out where he asked them very cool questions. It was really cool how he wouldn't talk to John at all. And John
we do have a witness in this stream right now.
A witness?
He was there.
A witness.
Good evening, Danny.
Oh, hey, yeah. I was only there for a little bit. And I didn't really say much.
You didn't.
And I was disappointed.
Well, the point is that for a lot of these people, I'm not going to say who, if I'm to make progress, I have to yell at them. That's the only way I can do it.
I know exactly what you mean. Like, I know exactly what you mean.
You know, I have to, like, literally treat them like I did Otangelo. I can't, unless they ask me a question, right? If they ask me a question, they want to know something that I believe, then I don't have a problem having a simple back and forth. But if I'm bringing up something to someone, a kind of person, and I want to know an answer to it, for some people, it's just too much work, and I just kind of.
The one thing I've noticed about people like Quantum John and Otangelo and even James Carter, and when I've seen him, not so much Saagar. I like Saagar. I think that I would just love to have a discussion with him, just ask him some questions and kind of dive into how he views the whole origins of life thing. Because I know a little bit about his views, but I don't really know fully what he thinks about certain problems. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much. The thing with Quantum John and James Carter and Otangelo and even people like Nephilim Free and others is they don't really answer questions, or at least rarely will they provide a direct answer that's meaningful in some sense to a question that was posed to them. Especially Otangelo, he'll try to like dance around them, especially when they're just direct close-ended questions, like just yes or no, that try everything to get around them. That's one of the reasons why I think it's so hard to have a discussion with people with a creationist mindset. That doesn't mean purely creationist. I think like anti-vaxxers and climate contrarians and pretty much all pseudoscientific conspiracists would fall into this category. It's hard to have a discussion with people of that mindset because they're not interested in having a discussion. They're not going to answer questions. They didn't arrive at their position by reason, so trying to reason with them isn't going to work. It's just, and it turns into just a fustercluck.
Well, I don't particularly dislike anyone that I was with on stream. I'm just saying that if for me to pipe up, like I think that's very different than someone wanting, like if Dr. Carter or anyone in the, hey Danny, what do you think of XYZ? I think there could be good things that come from that. I'm just saying that, like, if they weren't interested in having a discussion with me, that's why I didn't pipe up. It seems like Pine Creek was more interested in doing his thing, and I just chose not to say anything.
By the way, I did want to say I wasn't mentioning anything about disliking them, just that when you deal with people like Otential or like Quantum John, when you ask them direct questions, you don't get, you know, a direct, you get if it's an answer at all, it's ambiguous. It's sometimes even trivial. Sometimes there might be a little bit of dishonesty in the answers. And I think that's a big problem with trying to have discussions. Like, I remember one time I asked Otangelo, so Demeter is a literal PhD molecular biologist who's actually published research in academic presses concerning origins of life. Are you willing to admit that he knows more about the field than you? I could not. I mean, and Doubting Thomas was there with me. We hammered him. He would not answer that question. He would not give a direct answer. That's, for me at least. I don't know if I can't say it's the same for you, Danny, but for me, that's one of the things that makes it so hard to have a discussion with these guys. I can't tease like some sort of proposition or something like that out of them that I can work forward from. They're dodging, they're beating around the bush, and it just makes it difficult.
You know, I remember that conversation so well, even though I might not have been there during that conversation. It just seems like that's just the Otangelo thing. So
yeah.
Well, this one was me, Doubting Thomas, and Otangelo backstage after one of Knox streams.
Oh, gotcha.
And it was whew. And I was like, I wasn't trying to attack Otangelo, which I'm never trying to do, because I don't think Otangelo is a bad person. Like, I don't think he's a bad guy. But it was just, if you're not like even me, I will concede it right here so that it's on record. Somebody like Jason Lyle, he's a creationist. He still has a PhD in astrophysics. He knows a lot more than I do. He knows infinitely more than I do. He has a technical knowledge. I disagree with him on things, but he knows more about the technicalities of the subject than I do. If I can admit something like that, why can't Otangelo? Why can't any of them?
Hey, I wanted to go back to, I mean, you, Speed, you came off of that video that you just had of Sal, right? And
Yep.
like I was saying, I was, really trying to figure these guys out, I don't know, today for some reason. And I found it really shocking and really threw me for a loop of what Sal said. He's in the process of mourning his mother's loss, right? So,
Right.
which is understandable. And one thing that really threw me for a loop is what he said was, he was just talking, and he said that his friend, that Sandy Pigeon, he's very close to, right? And he said,
Yep.
"Oh, Sandy, Sandy stopped by. He was nice enough to come to the funeral and all that." And he said he reminded me that that my mother is in a much better place. And he said, "Oh, and that just made me feel so much better." And I realized, you're right. He said, my mother is in a better place. And when he said that like really threw me for a loop, because isn't that like the whole pinnacle of Christianity? Like, isn't that what it's all about? And
Yeah.
he's a devout Christian, and somebody had to remind him of that. That like really threw me for a loop.
Well, to be fair, sometimes we can get lost in our own grief.
Yep.
Well, when you're grieving,
right.
Yeah,
when you're grieving.
I mean, right. I guess that would be a logical answer to it. But like when he said it, it really threw me for a loop. I was like, wow, I would think being such a devout Christian, that would be like the first thing you would think of, I guess. I don't know. Like, I thought that was kind of.
Actually, when you're in the throes of grief, that might, you start getting a little emo about things if somebody comes on and reminds you. Yeah. But I mean, that whole better place thing and that get out of life or get out of death free card is just, I mean, why are we so concerned with our own egos, with our own little situation, our own little human lump of skin, that we think it should live forever? I mean, why in the fuck are we that egotistical?
I don't, and I mean, I get what you're saying in some senses, but to be a little bit more fair just to the human race, I don't think it's so much an egotistical thing. At least not maybe more in the modern age, but I think originally this whole concept of something after death, at least to me, seemed to be something that almost came naturally to humans and was very much a cultural thing. And it still is, obviously, into the modern age. But I think that in the modern age, there might be a little bit more ego thrown into it, especially with religions like Christianity or even Islam, that put major emphasis on the afterlife and how glorious it is and that you're working for that. But at least originally, at least personally, I wouldn't say that the ego had much to do with it. I think it was just kind of this thing that humans, I want to say, kind of took for granted, but that doesn't make sense because there isn't actually an afterlife. But maybe you guys get what I'm saying, that they kind of just assumed that this idea was true. It was a thing that wasn't really questioned. It was just a part of life, a part of culture, that you died and you continued to exist in some ethereal realm.
I don't think there's a way to know whether the self continues after death.
I think that, well, the thing is, depending on whether there is or isn't, is going to depend on what particular framework Danny would prefer to examine it. I mean, from what I would consider a purely neuroscientific or neurophysiological framework, I would say definitively there's a way to know that the self, what we call the self, or the individual, does not continue after death. I would also say from a physical standpoint, it makes no sense because we can't identify what force carriers or what particles or forces or what have you are involved with the transfer of that information outside of the physical body. We have no way to define it. We've never observed it or measured it or detected it or quantified it. It violates everything we know about physical reality. But again, it just depends. If somebody who takes maybe more of a metaphysical approach might look at it differently.
I think it's interesting. Okay. I think there's a way to know that I haven't existed in the past, but I don't think there's a way to know whether I will exist in the future after bodily death.
Trust me, you won't.
Moving on. Probably not. Well, when you say no, what kind of knowledge are you referring to? Like propositional, or?
Sorry, what was your question?
When you say there's no way to know, and this is going to seem like really
meaning that the idea is that what establishes continuity of self-identity is going to be our beliefs about our past and our beliefs about our beliefs currently, and beliefs about our memories. So the idea is that if you don't have that second order beliefs about previous, I guess, mental states, then it's just there's not a sense in which those mental states are yours. So it's just a different person. So like if you electrocuted my body and it caused me to have a completely different set of first order beliefs than the ones that I do now, it's just not who you just changed the person. It's not the same person anymore.
I can agree with that, at least in some sense.
So like the only way I can say that I existed 10 years ago is because I identify with certain memories and beliefs, like who my mother was, my sixth birthday, and such, right? What I like. If I didn't have any of those beliefs and if I didn't have access to those memories, I just don't see how the me now would be the same person that was in this body 10 years ago. Or how old am I? 18 years ago. I can't remember.
Yeah, how old are you? I don't know. Wait, no, you're 28, aren't you?
Yeah, so 22 years ago, whatever, if I didn't have any access currently or didn't identify with any of the beliefs then, or my memories then, I think that's a different person.
Yeah. Yeah, we're different people in every moment, actually.
Well, no, I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to go that far.
Well, we're definitely different from what we were when we were like 9 years old. And that's the thing. When you think about dying, you think, oh, I'm going to give up this bag of memories, this personality identification kit that I have, which you were just talking about, Danny, that, this way of knowing who we are, that sort of thing. And it really is not something that you should cling to because it's always changing anyway.
No, well, just because it can change. Just because it can change doesn't mean that you can't cling to certain identitarian commitments. Like if someone really is committed to the fact,
you're free to cling. What I'm saying is that don't.
Why?
You'll be a lot happier if you don't.
I cling to certain. I love these discussions. I love being online. I love my philosophy. I love being a teacher. Why? I'm going to cling to that as far as my identity. I'm not letting that go. Now I understand that can change.
No,
right?
At this point, I would like to share my preference about continuance after death by sharing this wonderful refrain from the beautiful and deep voice of Johnny Cash.
Copyright strike.
I'll fly a across the universe divide.
Oh, that's right. We'll get a strike, won't we?
I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
man.
know.
Damn. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to sing it. No, I'm not going to sing it. I'm just kidding. I
Okay.
wouldn't do that to you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't
Can
know
I
if we
read
get
it?
a strike for that or not.
Is it
Yeah, you can
possible
read
to
it. Read it.
I'll fly a starship across the universal divide. That's what I prefer to think. I'll find a place to rest my spirit if I can. Perhaps I'll become a highwayman again, or I may simply be a single drop of rain, but I will remain, and I'll be back again and again and again
And again.
and again.
Cool.
I think
Okay.
that's just a great thing to hang on to in those wee hours in the middle of the night when it's raining and the storms are thundering, to remember that even though we don't know, and even though we don't think so, it's always good to have something to hold on to.
Okay. Okay, so Immutable found this virtual box of rocks in a human skin.
Okay.
Rocks in a human skin.
Examining evolution. I think I've heard of that channel, and it's really bad.
It's really
like,
bad.
I mean, it's. I don't even know how. Like, if there's a word. Danny, give me a word that means something that's so bad that we don't have words to describe how bad it is.
Yeah. I made a video with her.
Did you really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's Rebecca from Bread of Life. That's her other channel.
Yeah. So Atheist Junior, you didn't recognize my name when I sent you a StreamYard link, right?
Yeah, yesterday
who the fuck are you?
And then I looked up the name and I was like, I saw a bunch of Standing for Truth videos and I was like, is this a theist? Is this person trying to sabotage me? Like,
oh yeah, okay.
Am I gonna go into a room with 9 theists?
Yeah. Awesome. Anyway, now you know. Now you know what I look like when I invite you on StreamYard. So
sorry about that.
I dox myself all over the fucking place because I'm old and I don't give a shit anymore. Yep. Anyway, so I thought I don't know. There's just a few highlights here. There's kind of a funny part.
I believe in evolution because it's been scientifically proven, and I believe in science. Well, is that the real reason that so many people, including many scientists, believe in evolution?
Including
or is there another reason?
No,
There's another reason, and I'll show you in this video. Let's start with this clip from Richard Dawkins.
I think the easiest way is to use the ordinary language word fact. In the ordinary language sense of the word fact, evolution is a fact.
Those of us who are Western educated have been told by authority figures from a very young age.
It's a dog whistle.
Evolution is a scientific fact. Look what Richard Dawkins says to this classroom full of kids.
Darwin wrote his book, The Origin of Species, 150 years ago. And ever since then, we've gradually been filling in the details. And now it's absolutely certain that Darwin was right. You've got millions and millions of pieces of evidence which no reasonable person could possibly dispute. That's sort of the way it is.
That's what we've been told to believe. To question it means that you're stupid. To question it means that you're unscientific.
Okay, pause not. So all I'm going to say is, if you questioned the validity and the coherence of general relativity,
or
I'm probably going to call you stupid. Okay, you know what? Let me rephrase that, because not everybody understands specifically general relativity. So let me just make it more simple. If you question that the physical models that we have that describe and define what gravity is, yeah, I'm probably going to assume. Okay, I wouldn't use the word stupid, but I would say scientifically illiterate. I think that there are things that at this point, if you start to question, it's either it's because you are that illiterate of the science. And that doesn't mean you're a stupid person. It just means you don't understand whatever it is that you're questioning. You just don't.
It doesn't even mean I don't know, because I'm scientifically literate to most people.
I don't even know if I don't even know if I would put it that far, as much as I would put it to be like being misinformed. Like, I don't mind that people question certain things, because that's sometimes like a sign of maturity. But if you're just like dismissing it for no reason, then it's like really foolish to do.
In response to Dr. Dan's comment, this is her second channel. Her main channel has 4.2 thousand subscribers. So just saying.
Oh, no shit. Oh my God. So what is her main channel?
It's called Bread of Life, and it's just sort of
this is
videos.
her.
Yeah, I
what
made a video
video?
with her. Well, it's just sort of videos like this, but are about Christianity and not evolution specifically. Because I had a video where we had a pretty nice conversation, but at the end, my last question to her was, "What do you think about science?" And that opened this whole can of worms where she started saying all these things that were red flags, and I was like, "Oh no." and then the topic of evolution came up, and things sort of went south. But it's still a good conversation. It's Speed has seen the video, and he could tell you that it's a pretty good video. I liked talking to her, but when it comes to science, she is vastly misinformed, and it's unfortunate.
I mean,
I would not.
To her defense, she does kind of make a point that people believe in evolution, like not entirely for scientific reasons. They believe it sometimes because that's what they've been taught.
That's with most things, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
that on its own, that on its
and
like
the reasons that it should be taught, and you understand the logic behind why it's taught. I think that could be a good reason to believe it. I don't think a lot of people believe it just because it's in their science book. A lot of people don't want to believe it because it's in textbooks, because of people like Kent Hovind, like, oh, well, this is in textbooks, so that means that we should just automatically believe it. I don't really know if that many people do that, but I guess some people do.
I mean, compare that to human anatomy. Okay, we've never actually looked inside of our body to figure out whether or not we have intestines, right? So why should we believe it? Just because Western society tells us that we should believe this. No, but have you looked?
Yes.
Oh,
seen pictures on the internet.
Oh, you've seen pictures?
I've seen videos
on the internet.
I've seen actual videos of it happening. I mean, unless you're going to make a flat earth or it's all CGI argument, which at that point I'm just going to laugh you off the fucking stage here. But other than that, no, I think a better example would be, why do we believe electrons exist? You can't fucking see an electron.
Well, granted, evolution, you have to know a few more things in order to figure it out, and everybody should question it and should think about how the fuck did this evolve?
Yes, but that's the thing, is that we need to question things in science, but there's a level where I would say if you're questioning certain things, you're questioning that because you don't understand enough about that particular specialized field to know that the thing that you're questioning is already established.
I would say it's. Can you guys hear me? Or
yeah.
Okay. We can hear you.
Yeah, I would say that, like, her point would be valid if that was the only reason people believed in evolution, right? If people were just saying, like, appealing to experts and saying, like, oh, well, they said it, so it must be true, that would be fallacious. But she doesn't, like, directly make that point, and just believing something, like, because people have told you isn't a bad thing necessarily. But if it is, right? Yeah, evolution has existed for 150 years, give or take. But calculus, right? Calculus has existed for, like, what, 400 something years?
Roughly.
Yeah, why do you believe that?
400 years? And technically speaking, like, real calculus, like mathematically rigorous calculus, wasn't developed till like 120 years after its inception. Because calculus, for those of you that don't know, both Newman and Leibniz both like very heavily used this notion of a limit, but didn't bother defining what it was. And a lot of people use this language of, like, being really, 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 really close to, like, zero. And that's what it means for a limit. But luckily, people refined the theory and, like, made it more precise. But and the additional point, right, something for her to consider is, if it's a bad thing that we've been listening to people, like, in regards to what facts we should obtain, shouldn't you not believe in the Bible? Because the Bible is a document that goes back like 2,000 some odd years, and we know objectively that people back then weren't as knowledgeable as people back now.
I think there's a little nuance here, though, about well, let's say Dr. Dan tells me that there's this protein called XYZ that has, like, or protein A that has property B, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know anything about proteins and their properties, right? So and then let's say someone that like this younger creationist that y'all were just talking about, that woman tells me that he's wrong and that it doesn't have property B, right? So I have a choice. I don't know anything, right? So then if it's the case that I have no prior commitments, like any other beliefs that would commit me to thinking that it has that property or doesn't have that property, then I'm faced with the deciding based on who's probably true, right? So let's say, I'm gonna I will be committed to what Dr. Dan says over what this woman is saying. However, let's say the woman gives me an argument, right? In which I accept the premises, and I see that it's valid for why it doesn't have that property B. Then I think I have a commitment to the argument over the commitment to the fact of Dr. Dan having those credentials, right? And having that prior probability of that, he's likely to be right given those credentials, right? So the idea is that a lot of cases we're just like, I have you guys throwing science or claims about science, and I have younger creationists making claims about science, and I don't have any other beliefs to kind of arbitrate between the claims. So I just take whatever's most probably true. So I take into effect consensus and credentials to make a judgment, right? If I choose to make a judgment, I could remain agnostic. But then, I'm just going to take Dr. Dan's word for it over Otangelo's word for it, right? And and because if I just believe Otangelo because on the basis that he's saying it, that he's the fact that he's presented some defeater that I don't really understand, right? I don't think I think I'd be irrational. So I think that's how I look at it.
I think it's actually more the case that you're right, and I think it's also that if you just believe, like if what you're taking like a fact to be, or how you're judging whether or not something is factual or not, is who's making the claim, then you don't really have like a good basis, because I can find people all over the place who will tell me the Earth is flat, the Earth is not flat, the sky is blue, the sky is not blue.
Well, it's a sufficient basis. Right? I mean, it is a good basis, right? Look, if Otangelo is telling me this protein has property B, and Dr. Dan tells me no, it doesn't have that property, I think it's a good reason to accept that it doesn't have that property. I think it's sufficient.
Yeah.
Right. So I also engage like in Bayesian reasoning, like to kind of establish beliefs, and I like my point of reference is like my own basis of knowledge. So if somebody tells me, for instance, like, oh, the sky rained blood the other day, or something like that, what I'm going to do first, like, is try and see if that type of claim, right, like makes sense or fits kind of knowledge that I believe I have regarding other things.
I controlled for that. I'm saying I controlled for that, right? I said that if I don't have any background beliefs concerning the claim, and all I have to go off is basic probability.
You did. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So if it's the case that you have a prior, like if I have a prior that would commit me to what Otangelo is saying, then the credential that Dr. Dan has doesn't matter anymore. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if I have no priors, go ahead.
Can I just highlight real quick, because I'm not sure if the people in the stream are as familiar with this person as I am, because I talked with her, and this is somebody who gets their information from Standing for Truth. And
oh boy.
Yeah.
You mean strangling the truth? Because that's what he does.
Sitting for lies.
Defecating in truth.
And one of the things that she said during our talk was that science has been taken over by a philosophical theory of naturalism.
Yeah.
Which,
well, for it to be taken over, it means that at some point it wasn't under the purview of naturalism to begin with.
Most scientists don't.
I'm confused how.
Most scientists don't care about naturalism.
Yeah. But I mean, science has always
science
operated
deals with the natural world, at least.
Yeah.
But that's not that doesn't
that's not
they should care about naturalism.
I know, but they don't know the difference.
In fact, I would wait.
Of course not.
Exactly. That's my point, right? I think that even if you pressed scientists, are you a naturalist, you'd get a good portion that would say, no, I'm probably not a naturalist, but I don't see what that has to do with science. You know?
Yeah, but it does kind of, well, I guess as I construe naturalism as a local, basically the local net of what we know about how things work.
Why wouldn't you just use the term the way other people use it to not be confusing?
How are we defining
because I don't
natural?
have Well, because I think people are confused about it.
No,
People
they're
think of
not.
it-
What about
Oh, they
naturalism?
are.
They're
Who's
not confused
arguing
about what it
about
means.
naturalism?
They're
Oh,
they're
That'd be
not.
another topic.
They're not confused
They're
about
very
what it
confused.
means.
I just
Very
want to know who's
confused.
confused and what they're confused
No
about.
one's
I would-
confused.
I would say
there's not
Steve's
a,
confused.
there's not a confusion about what the term means in these circles. People often associate naturalism with the view that everything that exists, every object is a natural object, right? That's not, or everything that can be studied in principle could be approached by the sciences, right? That's
just a religious statement saying everything.
No, it's not.
Saying all
No, it isn't.
everything completely.
No,
It's
a metaphysical statement.
It's
no,
called a
you're
logical-
taking a perfectly reasonable epistemological foundation, and you're trying to turn it into some metaphysically
Naturalism
pure.
isn't epistemological.
Just shut
Really?
the fuck up
Metaphysical.
while I'm talking, for Christ's sake.
It's-
If you guys never
I know.
listen to me, you're never going to understand what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay.
You know, it's
You got to
actually
at least. I mean, if you want to have this conversation, we'll do it at another time. I want to get this clip done, and then we got some other clips to go to.
But
so.
look. It seems like what you're suggesting is that if you're saying Danny and Leo and that crew, if you take naturalism to be this, that mean XYZ or what we mean it to be, then of course it's stupid, it's religious, it's like it's problems, right? But that doesn't give us a reason to change the usage. There are a lot of views, like solipsism is really stupid, but it's useful to understand solipsism or use the word solipsism in a certain way because that's how people communicate. We're not going to evaluate the usage of a term based on how stupid it is.
I have called my position propositional physicalism, and I use the adjective in order to change it. I know you don't because you never fucking listen. That's why
I do.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a term that was invented 5 seconds ago.
It was a term invented 5 years ago by me. So
Okay,
anyway,
well,
I know what it
I'm glad that I
means.
can access
I
your
know what
mind
the fuck
whenever
it
I feel
means.
like it.
And if you don't want to know what the fuck it means, then or if
I'd
you
love
want to
to.
know what the fuck it means, you're gonna have to listen to me
All right,
because I
what's it
invented the
mean?
motherfucking term.
Can I just point out that I know like what I was thinking 5 years ago as well, but that doesn't mean like that.
Wow.
Can we get back
Wow.
to the fucking clip already?
So,
please?
so what is propositional physicalism?
I'm not telling you. Clip.
Man, that's a
clip.
No,
bad
I
door.
mean express
Wow.
your position. I'm just saying
What?
like it might exist in some like
I
fringe
told you
view of-
no. I don't want to talk about it right now. Okay, we're
Then
why
well,
did you bring it up?
Just
Are
Why
you
didn't you bring
triggered
it up?
over? Are you triggered over your convicted view of like?
I brought it up to explain to Danny that I do have another term besides naturalism because he said
Can you guys hear me?
there is a standard use for naturalism.
There is.
Yeah, we can always hear you at midnight. Okay, there's a standard use for naturalism. So I brought it up to explain to Danny that I do have another term for what I believe. It's called propositional physicalism, and I don't want to get into it right now.
So why are you bringing it
Is
up?
that fucking enough for you? Because
You brought it up.
fucking
Do it.
told you.
You brought it
Well,
up already.
we
so just
can finish. We can finish the video and then get back to what we were talking about.
Okay. I brought it up because I wanted to tell Danny that I do have a different term because he contested my use of a term which has a common meaning. Right, Danny? Is that correct?
Yeah. It has a pretty
I
standard
mean, is that
use.
fair? I'm telling you I have a different term and someday we can talk about it.
Sure. Like if you want to move on with the conversation, if you want to change the subject, that's fine.
I do.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we can crawfish.
Now you want to listen to this?
sure. Let's
This seems
Let's crawfish
so
to the
awful.
video.
Okay, this is
What?
like, listen to what this guy says and tell me if he says what I think he says.
Just as a layman, I had to come to terms with, how on earth did we function? And the heart, for example, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, and particularly, don't want to be too personal, but how do I take a leak if I have to wake up a few million years to do that?
What?
Now,
what?
Wait, I didn't even understand what he said. What the fuck did he say?
Did he say
He
wait?
said,
How do you function if you had to wake up like 100 million years ago, take a leak or something like that?
okay,
Did he say wait
he
a
said
million years?
fuck.
I think
Okay,
he
hang
might
on a
have said.
second.
I think he might have said peak.
no, P. He said P.
P.
Oh,
He said P.
okay, I can unpack this.
Oh.
Okay, he thinks that, first of all, we evolved as a life form, but we didn't have hearts and lungs and stuff like that. And he says, how did we live without that? And then he also thought that we didn't have a penis or a bladder or or whatever we have to go to the bathroom with, that we didn't have the equipment to go to the bathroom. So he says, I have to wait a few million years for that to evolve. How do I go pee?
But we don't live for that long. I mean,
Yeah, that's like saying,
no, but
how do I breathe oxygen before any life breathes oxygen? Come on, evolution.
Guys,
is so
can I just say, has anybody ever seen that whole entire interview? This interview right here?
Who is
No, I
this
don't
guy?
think so.
This is Richard Dawkins and this guy. You gotta
Yeah, but
go.
who
and
is
watch-
this guy? What's his
I
name?
Who is
don't.
this
I
guy?
don't know. I saw this a long time ago, and I actually watched the whole thing. You have to
whose man
see
is
it.
this?
It's actually pretty good. He's a religious guy. He invited Richard Dawkins on. I don't know. I don't know if it's like a podcast or a television show or something he had. I saw this a long time ago. It is actually worth watching. It's pretty funny.
Well,
Richard Dawkins.
there's the title of the
almost-
video right there.
If
Yeah, I
he
just
had a
wanna
gun,
say-
he would have shot himself. Richard Dawkins, listening to this guy. So
well, yeah, I want to say
I've
I
seen the clip
remember-
where he brings up the eye, and Dawkins
what
gives
I-
a really
oh,
good
God.
explanation.
That's
Not
literally.
Oh boy,
that's-
fucking shit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hold on, guys. Go ahead, Midnight.
That is literally what I was gonna bring up. This guy talks about how the complexity of how the eye is, is well made, yet he's wearing glasses.
I
Yeah,
love it.
the irony of that one. But
We're
this is
intelligently
actually-
designed, but our balls hang outside of our body.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
this
is
is-
actually the general point he was making is actually like a really common talking point of like 80s and 90s Christians, where they thought that like when humans evolved, for some reason, like the penis or the vagina hadn't yet evolved also, like along, like it just had to be
Yeah.
independently created or something. It's like, what
Yeah, and
what do
then
you think inheritance means exactly? I'm very confused.
Oh, they don't fucking know.
I know they don't know, but that's the fun part.
And then when they talk about the evolution of sex, they say, "Oh yeah, by chance there had to be a male, and then by another chance there had to be a female," and like they had to like both pop into existence at the same time.
I
Kinda
want to
like
tell this
Adam
guy,
and Eve.
just be glad you don't have a cloaca, bro.
You know,
Yeah.
if you wanna get technical, only females exist. No males.
Well,
Yeah, I was
females
thinking
do have a
about that.
tiny penis, so okay. We call
Actually,
it
I
split.
just read a
What
paper.
the
I just
fuck
read a
does that have to
paper.
do with anything, you fucking asshole?
I just
Jesus
read a
Christ.
paper that was bullshit. Midnight.
Wait, what? What is? I'm so
That's-
confused right now.
I thought he was talking about how embryos develop in the womb, how they start out basically
Right.
with a
Yeah.
female
That's bullshit.
anatomy.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit. I didn't know that.
Well, I
Well,
just
Okay,
I don't
if you
think
could say, hold on, if you want to say bullshit, can I have a paper?
I just run into somebody
Right,
that
Chuck?
wrote an article about this, but when you understand development, you realize no, that's bullshit.
Okay,
Well,
but
it's
I'm
probably an
asking-
oversimplification.
Well,
Way oversimplified,
Speed.
right?
Speed. Okay, it's bullshit, but okay, do you have a paper that explains why it's bullshit? That's what
I'll
I'm
have
asking.
to find it for you. I'll have to find it for you.
I can
Well,
guarantee
I'll
you
take
it
that
begins with
under
scientism.
consideration, but I feel like I would be a good skeptic if I just took your word for it that it's bullshit. So I'll have to look into
Yeah.
this.
I'll look into it. It was a recent article that came out. I don't know where I ran into. It was like within the last 5 days. So, and it had something to do with embryology, I think. But anyway, it was cool. So
I was hoping I was hoping we were going to review this video in full because oh my gosh, I just had to like laugh at it because it's oh man, it's
I want to hear
it's
Well-
worth the
what
ride.
this guy's gonna say.
Just as a layman, I had to
Okay,
come to terms
hear it
with,
again.
how on earth did we function? And the heart, for example, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, and particularly, don't want to be too personal, but how do I take a leak if I have to wait a few million years to do that?
Now, this man is asking some very legitimate questions. Richard Dawkins does
Okay.
not have a good answer for these.
I don't
And
know.
yet, this video was shown as an example of stupidity.
yeah.
So the real reason that so
I-
many people, including scientists, believe in evolution is because that's what we've been told to believe.
No.
To question it means
No.
that you're stupid. To
questioned all
question
the
it
fucking
means
This is
that
literally a
you're
flat Earth argument.
unscientific.
Yes.
And we've been told that for so long that many have embraced this theory without criticism, without questioning it,
No.
and without evidence.
No.
Thanks for
come on,
watching.
guys.
If you hated this video, then give it a dislike and tell me what you.
Don't you guys know that,
she's
that
sassy.
gravity? The only reason anybody believes in gravity is because they've only been told about it. I mean, come on, that's the only
Yeah,
reason.
I mean, it's not like there's fucking
say-
math or anything.
Because I'll
like
tell
that.
you what, before Einstein came with it, people were flying around all over the place. I mean, come on,
People-
guys.
People can live with one kidney.
They can.
Yes, they can.
I mean, totally. Yeah.
Evolution.
You just
I mean,
can't
it's
live
just-
without a liver, though.
Creationists.
You kind of got to wonder, like, why it's the case that evolution is like under her like very distorted view, like why evolution is still around if nobody has like refined the theory like since Darwin, like in the 50s, 60s, whenever he developed it. It's just
Speed,
interesting.
You could play the end of my video with her where we sort of get into this if you want. I mean, you don't have to, but it might answer some of the questions that we have about this.
Okay.
And you know, we talked about like some Bible things, and because she told me she's writing a book because she wants to try and convert atheists to be Christians, and you know, I said, and she said atheists don't want to know God, and I said that's probably because God's scary. He's a little bit murderous in the Old Testament. That might be why.
I can tell you something. The whole believe in me or the eternal hotbox option is probably not the best way to acquire converts.
Hotbox, that's a good one.
It's kind of sounds like a little bit of an asshole and an abusive person you might want to exit out of the relationship with.
I'll find a timestamp for you real quick.
Okay. Talking with Brave Life.
It's awful quiet. in
I don't
here.
know.
What happened? Oh,
Say
there we go.
something, Danny.
We're all busy.
Yes,
We're all
what's happening?
busy.
Oh, say something. Oh, I meant.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
I actually.
Okay,
you
guys.
talked with this
Oh,
person.
that's
Okay, you-
beautiful, Leo.
Yeah,
Hey,
you can
boys.
go to 4443.
Boys and girls, I got a raccoon problem.
You do?
I've been telling you this. They're too damn fat.
We've known this. We've known this for a while. 42, 43, was
shit.
it?
4443.
Oh, 44, 43. Okay.
We'll drop a bookmark there, maybe. Oh no. Hang on a second. 44.
Apparently, you got a
40.
cat that's being a bitch.
I hear
He's
me.
yelling at
That's
the.
what the Bible teaches.
Okay, he's yelling at the raccoon.
Yeah, he is. Okay.
Yeah.
yelling at
4433?
40. 43.
Okay.
It doesn't
Yeah,
really matter.
Close enough. Okay. Cat's yelling at the raccoon. I'm gonna. Should I play this and step away? Will that work, guys?
Sure.
I
Sure.
suppose.
It depends on if you want to hear it or not.
Well, it's got me in it.
I just want to tell Speed that, you know, when my mother was feeding all the raccoons in the county, they were lean and healthy.
Yeah.
I'll just let you know.
Mine are fat and
Fat.
they're having heart attacks left and right. So I'm gonna mute myself, but I can hear on the headphones, so I know a few fuckers are talking about me. So
Was that a bad thing or a good thing? I don't know.
A great
I'll tell you,
response.
this fucking
and,
Speed guy, though, he's just he's
the
something
time's
else.
gone by really fast, but I think
Fucking-
I'd like
this
to
fucking
ask one
scientism,
more
this guy,
question
I
before
swear.
we sort of
Sure.
wrap it up. Is what do you think about science? Just
Science.
Yeah. Well, I love science. And so I think science is great. It's provided us with lots of technology
Yes.
and,
Based.
medical help for people. And so I appreciate science. And I'm like, unfortunately, though, there has been something that's a philosophy.
Is she from Wisconsin?
It sounds northern. It sounds
I
like
like science, but I'll tell you here now. It sounds like
I know she lives like in the Dubai.
I'll tell
but
you here now.
I don't know where
Evolution
she's
is a fucking lie.
It sounds a little Fargo-esh.
It could be you're not wrong. There could be the Dakotas. She could be from the Dakotas.
Well,
how did you guys stop the video?
That's a good question.
It was the cat.
It's
It
almost
was
like magic.
I think it was a cat.
It was probably Scott.
They
Cat
use
Jesus.
science. They use science.
Well, huh? Well, okay, I got this right here. Oh shit! The camera's not on. Loki's
I love
Loki's
science.
on my Mac right now. He's sitting on my Mac, so I think that's what happened.
He probably hit the space bar and paused it.
Yeah.
Which
love
was
it.
really good because he paused it at the right time because that was right when the question popped into my head. Is this chick from Wisconsin? Oh, yeah, from Wisconsin. I like me some cheese. Oh, darn there.
I like science. It's just the scientists I don't like. I like the
I'm
technology.
surprised
the technology.
I'm surprised the statement didn't begin with "I like real science."
Are you ready to roll? We want to roll?
Let's rock.
Keep it rolling. Slow roll.
Philosophical idea that has been married to science.
Oh, yeah.
That is not scientific in nature, and that is naturalism, or
yes, naturalism is not scientific in nature at all.
So it's the idea that we've got to find a natural cause, and that everything has a natural cause.
Yeah,
and so
kind of like
this
the definition of
commitment
science.
to naturalism is what really drives evolution, and so I know you had the experience of
use Dannykins when you want me to stop.
What
okay.
the fuck is
to the surprise of nobody, naturalism drives
use
like all
foreskin.
scientific. Can I talk, please? Thank
Naturalism.
No, I'm not.
Right.
No, I'm moderating. Okay, when I'm moderating,
you're
you
not.
don't talk. No,
You're
I'm moderating
right now.
Now, if you want me to stop the motherfucking video when you guys are talking, I mean, I'm listening to the video. I'm listening to you guys. Use the code word foreskin or Dannykin.
I'm not saying either of those. I'm sorry. I'm
not going to stop the fucking video.
Well, then I'll just talk right on through it.
Well,
I'll just do the motherfucking video. We don't say
see who dies
motherfucker
first.
Just
here.
pop you right out like that.
We say
That'll
gosh
happen.
darn. We say gosh darn it.
Or darn there.
Okay.
Told the folks I says hi.
Somebody wanted to say something.
Immutable.
Yeah. It's naturalism that drives like all scientific explanations and like phenomenon, just not just evolution. But yeah, philosophical naturalism is probably a $5 word she picked up from her preacher.
Yeah,
probably.
It's methodological naturalism. That is
methodological empiricism.
It's called physicalism of the gaps.
Sure, whatever that means.
Gaps.
Well,
I love
it
gaps.
means whatever
I
you want it
don't
to mean.
need an explanation for the explanation. I don't need that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, thank you,
you
Tangelo.
do. We don't. Us religious people who use God as an explanation don't need to explain to you, how this works or anything like that. But you do. You have to do that. It's just special pleading.
You got to. Because it can't just be natural, because, I don't know.
Because I don't understand anything.
I can explain to you what I naturally do every morning if you'd like. I mean, if you want to know details, I can give you details.
You do realize that other people are using foreskin on their videos, and Top Dog just suggested raccoon paws, but I'm not sure if that's going to work for me. Like, I don't know.
What is
We
it
need
with you and
something.
foreskin? I mean, have you become a Catholic behind our backs, or?
No, it's Ian. It was Ian's idea, and I like Ian, so we chose it. It
And where has Ian
defines
been
our
for the
channel.
past few? When has Ian been for the past few months now?
Raising a child.
Well, that's a good point, but do you know who has been here? Me, and it's my fucking channel. If I want to use foreskin,
Well, since we're going on the basis of who's been active in the channel for a little while,
I think it's funny.
I think I'd like to sponsor mymyself.
And that is spread out throughout the whole community too. I told you about that.
Immutable, you haven't been
People-
you haven't been really active in this channel.
People
I don't
are.
think I'll take the
Also-
advice from a sputtering person.
I just
David-
kind of
You're
get
a
through
fucking
line
asshole, you know
thinking
that?
Ian Chin
I know.
is always with us. Even when he's not in the side chat,
He
Ian
is.
Chin's always with us.
He's also with his
He
child.
lives in our hearts.
He
does.
lives in
He
our
lives in
heart.
your hearts the same way
Okay.
Jesus does, and probably
Shall
in
we?
your dreams.
Shall we move on?
Shall we?
Shall we?
Pete, I'm gonna have
Crazy.
to jump out. So, I have to go.
AJ,
I don't
Why?
know if we're going to move on. Shall we move
This is-
on? You tell me.
AJ, this is your show. What the fuck?
You're right. I have
So you
I have
gotta-
some family stuff I gotta do. I got family in town
Aw.
and stuff. I apologize.
just-
Freak
Thanks
family.
for coming by, and
I can come back on in a little bit if you guys are still streaming.
there's
Don't worry.
always
We'll probably just be beating up on Speed over his interesting
Okay,
philosophy.
This is why I
we're
told
going-
Eric needs to get in here because it's getting a little too. We need a rational female voice in here. I mean, we got Brenda.
What you're saying is the channel needs a woman's touch. Okay, fine.
Well, I mean, we got Brenda here, so she's helping out a bit.
I'm not rational, though.
like
I'm not
the
rational.
demons in Dune.
When I started taking hormones, I just lost my rationality. I became completely irrational and unable to park cars.
Yeah, emotional. Yeah, that happens. AJ, you have to bail, right? So
Yeah,
you want to say
yeah.
something before you bailed?
I would just say, whoever's channel this is, it looks awesome, and you guys should go subscribe to it. And I will definitely be on the stream again in the future.
You mean this AJ guy, this Atheist Junior?
Yeah,
guy?
this agnostic. What's it? Agnostic senior.
Look at
Something
all
like
those
that?
subscribers.
Yeah, but he has
It's
no
not
meaning in his. He has no meaning in his life. So I don't know. He's an atheist. I don't know if you should subscribe or not. I will put it in my description.
He sounds
In case
handsome.
you want
I'm
to.
just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Okay. All right. Later, guys.
Bye. Okay.
Yeah.
One other point of moderation. We are going to end because Amy has a stream starting at 10:30. We're going to end at 10:15. Max.
What stream does Amy have going on?
She's got some kind of an after show, I think it was, but I'm not entirely sure.
What's it about?
I don't know.
Midnight ranting. Why doesn't God make himself known? 10 o'clock p.m.
Oh, 10. Okay, so we got to end before. We got to end about 5 minutes too then. So we got like 45 minutes to get through some shit here. So
it's going to be a good discussion. I might pop in for that if there's room.
So anyway, yeah, we'll go and review the rest of this later. I hit play on. So Top Dog brought us a video, and you should look at the side chat because I sent a message or a suggestion for everybody. I'm sure we'll fuck it up, but or the private chat rather.
Oh,
private chat. Okay, hang on a second. Share this.
It's labeled 9:01 p.m.
It's what?
Timestamped 9:01 p.m. Your message in the private chat.
I don't. Wait. I'm so confused.
Go up to 9:01 p.m.
Oh, that yeah. That's why I said just say icky taint.
No, not even that. Not even that
That's what I'm
much.
saying because that's what he is. He's an icky taint.
Just call him that guy.
Yeah, icky
Oh,
taint.
Jesus Christ, Leo, you
I prefer to use something that's like actually insulting with certain people, and that's exactly what that is.
No, that's the whole fucking point. Okay,
Is to be insulting. Yes.
No, it ain't.
Yes, it is.
Well, to be insulting of his ideas.
Aesthetically astounding and make me want to praise the creator, even though.
Oh shit! I'm on the wrong timestamp. Okay, where did your timestamp start? Oh, I don't even have the right video. It's not the right video. Hang on a second. Let me go find the right one.
We came loaded with videos tonight, man.
Yeah, we did. Too many videos. I can't even keep them
I would
straight.
like to claim credit for all my research, but I did zero of the research. I did watch that 10-minute Pine Creek clip of their talk with Saagar and Carter there.
So Scott, was there any like pre-planning or rehearsal for the videos that were going to be played tonight? It seems kind of like.
I'm sorry, what were those
playing a
words
little
you just used?
Was there any planning before we went live?
Are you speaking like Hebrew or something right now? I don't know.
I don't know.
I tried to do some planning with this video.
Oh, you dirty
before we
little
went live.
Oh shit! We lost Immutable. I don't know where he went. I have no idea where he went.
It's not like this channel has a sense of professionalism, but that's okay.
Yeah, apparently there's some static between your Wi-Fi and mine.
Yeah.
I don't per plan. I don't know what was that word and I can't get past the two syllables there.
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna play this thing.
Play it.
I mean, David would have looked at God like, well, wow,
Wait a
that
minute.
seems pretty unrighteous. I haven't done anything yet. Like, you can't, God can't. I mean, David would have looked at God like,
Is this the one?
Wow, that seems pretty unrighteous. I haven't done anything yet.
Is that the first clip?
You have to like get through the first minute, maybe.
Maybe
Like,
you have to actually watch it.
God can't communicate fully and completely like as God all the time to man. And so what happens is you guys read a passage where God is communicating to men from the frame of reference of a man, so it's coherent, and you're like, oh, well, God must think like.
That wasn't the clip.
Which
do have a
one are you talking about?
Okay, the one where you mentioned me.
Oh, that's 3:17. 3 hours, 17 minutes.
I did have a comment for that though. Since that was brought up, why can't God make things like make sense when he's God and also as a human, since he's both omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent?
What do you mean?
If he's God and he knows all things, one of those things being how to communicate to people effectively, there should be nothing prohibiting him from doing that very thing.
Well, yeah, other than his will.
Well, then in that case, that just means God's incompetent.
Well, no, it just means he chooses not to.
Well, if your desire is to have people praise you and to be worshipped by people, and you choose not to appeal to people in the way that you know they would believe.
Okay, Top Dog, did you want me to play further?
The first timestamp was for because Smokey was fighting back against Gavin, saying that God has mind changing, or mind. I mean, his mind changes from what's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Smokey was
been
saying,
going on. Yeah, that's been going on for a while. Yeah, they've been battling with Algothra on that too, because that's open theism. That's or a part of that. So that's been an argument going on for days now, or maybe even longer than that.
So you want me to play more or go to the next clip?
if you want to just go to the part you were talking about, or you want to keep on going through every timestamp.
No, we'll do it in order. Okay, so now we're at
just-
240. We're on the second clip.
Yeah, fine. Yeah,
Okay.
you think God would have been
You gotta
wrong?
play it for at least a
Can I
minute.
expound upon that really quick? I agree with Smokey. So yes, God can change his mind in the sense that he determines possible worlds. So I think he can change a possible world, but that means that could be changing his heart according to what the Bible said there. So yes, I think you might be both right in a certain sense.
That's what I was trying to communicate. I mean, I totally agree with everything Smokey just said, honestly. I'm just trying to be conciliatory.
This is why I don't like the open theism stuff going around, because this is the type of stuff that starts to end up entertaining. We are removing the essences of God that are transcendent, and we're trying to relocate them into the third dimension. This is what leads to oneness. This is what leads to Gnosticism, and this is what leads to this stupid, idiotic open theism that we keep talking about.
I absolutely despise.
Okay, there's a minute. So they're having a fight about open theism. And why do they hate Gnosticism so much?
I think it's because like the
number
Bible
ones.
mentions in some sense like that
They're just
the Bible
they're
kind
just
of like
morons. That's it. They're just idiots.
the thing is like my biggest thing with them is that they're like inconsistent, it seems. Like from my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Like it seems like when they say like, oh, a Christian is just like unlearned or whatever, something of the like, that it's just a no true Scotsman behind like flavor text.
Okay, we got another clip at 245.
Apparently, you tell me.
I don't know. Top Dog clipped him.
Side chat for you, and this is the thing that Rob did.
I think he just talks about a video that had like Matrix was reviewed as Jesus or something. I mean, Neo was supposed to be Jesus, and then
really,
in it's hard to remember all the things I keep on. Too many things I keep on thinking of at the same time. Sorry.
Okay,
I mean, that was kind of like a reference people drew as soon as the movie came out.
Yeah, they are late to the party, kind of thing.
Well, let's see what he says.
And I'm not even
We're gonna play it, okay?
kidding. Like he breaks down the whole movie scene by scene, like the whole freaking movie. And I'll just read this to you. This is the synopsis, and I posted it there in side chat if you guys want to go read it. It's actually really freaking interesting. It starts off with Neo as a man who becomes a Christian and learns to walk in faith. This is actually when he's offered the 2 pills, and he takes the one to actually like wake up and realize how big the world is and how grand it is. And that's
I don't know if
the weird thing about that, though, is like if you actually go beyond the first Matrix movie, and I think even in the context of the first one, he leaves the Matrix, but not the entirety of the Matrix. Like that's a theme that's used like throughout the other movies too.
Yeah, this stuff is too obscure for me.
Yeah, I think the whole question is, did Neo ever actually leave the Matrix? It seems like there was always a Matrix for him to be in.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the paradoxes with it, because I think the Matrix is kind of a
no, man.
Not
he had powers. He had powers, man.
Brenda, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the story itself kind of like a fictitious, or not fictitious? Well, yeah, fictitious, like a fictitious way of portraying Catholicism.
I don't know. I suppose I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I was just making a joke.
I've always
I don't know. That's what I thought when I first saw the Matrix. When I was
I first heard of Matrix as being from a point of view of Gnosticism, of some form of Gnosticism. But that's a good question. I need to, I guess, go reread my copy or my son's copy of The Matrix and Philosophy.
Was it based on a Philip K. Dick story? I don't know.
I don't know.
There's not a whole lot of science fiction shows that are not based on Philip K. Dick, but I don't think Matrix was.
What up, Leo?
Andrew is disappointed with you.
Is he? Where is he?
Yes, I don't know.
Why is he disappointed with me?
That's a good question.
I would say, like, why is it just now that he's disappointed at Speed?
God damn it. Mutable must be having connection problems tonight.
Right, yeah. That's what it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was a genuine question. I mean, I know that you're like, that you think I'm always like out to take like a swipe at you, but like, you could give me the benefit
of the doubt.
Andrew, I think Andrew wants to talk phylogenetics, I believe.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, okay.
So I think that's why. I don't know.
Do we want to run down the biblical hole, or what do we want to do, guys?
I don't really feel like talking about the Bible right now, honestly.
Yeah, we got like 24 minutes. So how many of these clips are like non-biblical?
I'm just going to say, if we're going to talk fictional books, can we please talk about Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Well, let's just check this one.
Let's see how.
Just say they.
Huh?
Who's that? Who's that in the stream? Is that Rob? I can't see.
Bob, Argatha. No, here's the Rabid Raccoon. Who's Crimson Air?
I don't know.
No clue.
We got Jamie Russell. We got Veckel. We got Praise.
Yeah, Veckel is an interesting individual. He has been like with the community, for better or for worse, for like
usually worse.
Well, he supported G-Man throughout like the majority of G-Man's internet career, which has been dubious to say the least.
I need to take this moment to ask Dessel a quick. I should call him Drace. I know him as Drace. I don't know. It's the first thing I see. What do you bring up Wotan for? I don't think Wotan comes to this channel. I don't know how much he's actually on YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's just see more about what Smokey has to say about his mind being blown. That one possible interpretation of what the Matrix symbolizes as a person going to Christianity.
Can you really only blow one neuron?
No, I think once you do it, it kind of fucks the other ones in the vicinity.
I would love to blow neurons at that level of pixelation there, one neuron at a time.
So, Top Dog, talk to me. So, like, is this all biblical stuff?
I can't remember.
Okay.
You just play at least a minute on each timestamp.
Okay, we'll check on a minute.
Just say the well.
nature did it. Well, God created the planet, of course.
Right. Why
No.
would God create it with like scars on it that appear to be things that happen slowly over time? But that's the same thing they say about the evidence for the flood, that it couldn't happen quickly. And those things are not necessarily the case. And I would say, how well did Adam look when he was created?
Let me take this to a real extra simple level, and maybe any young earthers want to respond to this. But like, if you want to take the perspective that definitely the Earth was created young, then I do think you have a bit of an issue as to where I think you should be able to at least explain in some way the justification of how basically now you're kind of, in my opinion, making God the greatest deceiver ever.
Yeah,
Because he created an entire macro environment that screams aged. And the book is almost structured in such a way to contradict it in this absolutist, literalistic type of way. Or,
yeah, exactly.
or it was communicated to a very archaic people without any scientific principles at all to give a bullet point of this. And then later on, when we finally reached, 6,000 some odd years later, a level of scientific coherency to actually digest the natural world around us, we'd be able to look back at this text and say, oh yeah, it fits. Yeah.
Well, how would that be honest though? Because then it's like saying, like, all this time God's making the people of the earth think it's young. It's young because that's just what it says.
But that doesn't matter. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They were scientifically illiterate. They didn't have that perspective. It didn't matter.
But you're talking about God making it look like.
So fuck, am I about to agree with him?
I mean,
I agreed with everything Icky Sticky said.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, he's got to make it a good point.
It's kind of a decent point to say, like, why make the Earth as if though it looked old? I mean, some creatures won't even say that. They'll just go like full ham and say, I see what I did. Yeah, but
maybe
they'll say, like, they'll just say that, like, oh, well, all the old features of the Earth God just put there during the flood, and it's like, well, that's kind of impossible. But okay, tell me more.
Okay.
Maybe because it'll put doubt in their mind that the Bible is written wrong in some places.
No, because that would mean that that God can fail according to their framework.
Andrew dislikes our stream for some reason. Okay.
He's not the only person.
Yeah. Okay.
He's mad. What's for me at all? And I was really trying to clearly operate with an objective look at this. Like, well, let's go see if I have any, way to say that, well, maybe standing is wrong, and that my already adopted bias, the idea that,
Did you go the next timestamp yet?
Yeah, I went to 3, I think, didn't I? Or 305? 305. Okay. I went to 305. Okay, the only proof of the existence of God is that without God, you couldn't prove anything.
Yeah, you can.
The impossibility of the contrary. In fact, fun thing, we can know things about infinity too. Well, about different types of infinity, because there's more than one.
You can prove things in math. We don't even have to reference God. We don't have to reference anything in the natural fucking world, for that matter.
Yeah. So I'm getting some pushback from the chat that, this is not a good direction to go. So
what isn't? What's the direction they want?
I don't know. I think they want more more creationist fighting. I'm not sure. Tell us, guys, what the hell's your problem? I got 2 dislikes out there. One of them is Andrew, and he's displeased with me. And if Andrew's displeased with me, then I'm displeased with myself.
Well,
God forbid you have to please people. Oh my God, it's such a sin that you're not.
Well, some of the people.
Whatever
would you
this is
do?
Andrew. This
Pine
is
Creek.
Andrew. He's not just any people.
I make an exception for you, Immutable.
Pine Creek.
Oh, I know,
Pine Creek
Steve.
was
That just makes things so much better.
It does. What?
Pine Creek. Pine Creek was on Mad Ox's show the other night.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
If that's something you want to review, that would make Andrew happy. I don't know.
We did that already, though.
We covered a little bit of that, and I mentioned that Pine Creek clipped that out and put it on his stream.
Yes.
And we should you can watch the good part. That's probably a subject for the weather report. What they went over, because it was kind of interesting. But
I just have to ask wonder to myself: is Andrew secretly a masochist?
Oh, because he goes on these streams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But well, he's been polishing his game. Actually, you can see improvement in how he handles them.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, he's only going to improve like as he engages that community more and more. Like that's to be expected.
He basically told Darth, you know what, Darth, I don't want to talk about that. It's it's irrelevant.
The thing is, Darth
told
is
him
one
to fuck
of
off.
Darth is one of those like record tapes where you can say anything to him almost and just watch the fun unfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Because
too bad. I didn't know what direction the stream was going to go. I was hoping we'd maybe have a little fun and make fun of Darth and draw him in here. Maybe, I don't know. You never know what
he wouldn't come in here.
Yeah, we don't have time for Darth tonight. We only got like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
left.
I know. Yeah, we don't have
Then
time
we're going
now.
over
But
to Amy's.
I wasn't sure what the plan was going to be tonight. But would have been kind of fun to play. But it's too late now for sure.
Here, I'll just play this one more clip, and then I'm going to review this Top Dog before we get any further into it, because I don't want to draw into that particular fight that they're all having over there, particularly because of who the players are involved. But anyway, I just had this little clip where apparently he was teaching me science, and I didn't realize it, and I wasn't listening.
The critique of that SFT would be on just like a macro level, would be kind of like looking at it.
think
It
that's
almost requires you to torpedo uniformity, which I mean, I get it if you need to, but I would expect to probably see some good evidence for the reason to do that, because
Why aren't the clips working? Like,
it is. It's just if you got to wait a minute.
Okay.
know that
I
there
was
are
making these clips from a
spectrums that
stream.
even young Earth will require to be consistent, that you wouldn't want to be just torpedoed out of mere conjecture. And I might be speaking out of ignorance. If there's something that helps for showing evidence that decay rates either have changed or do change, or there was something
Which there's no evidence for.
because this is my concern when I argue or have argued a bio.
It is.
What I have is I'll get someone like Speed of Sound who will come in and be like, and I'll explain to him the type of really complex, micro environment you need to even get the very beginning part of protein synthesis.
Foreskin.
First to me.
Well, that really.
When has he done that once?
That toasted that really toasted me, because that's where the whole speed of pudding thing came from. I was telling them about the fucking microenvironments and the complexity. And now he's saying that he was teaching it to me.
I don't think, in honesty, I don't think he's ever mentioned protein synthesis at all.
No,
because quite honestly, he's an ignoramus. He doesn't understand anywhere near enough about that process to try and lecture somebody about it.
Yeah, you can go and watch the video, but I'm the one that brought up fucking microenvironments when I was pushing back on Tony, and that's where the whole shitstorm started. So, but anyway, listen to what he says about what is the Top Dog about, light or something?
A spectrum.
Oh, here we go.
In
Okay,
2 seconds, he'll say it.
Okay, he was teaching me science. Now listen to him teach science.
Acid and building blocks of life, and he'll be like, well, maybe this thing and this thing here and that. I'm like, no, Speed, you don't understand. You basically were expecting for nature to have created a hyper complex gene synthesis lab basically in the middle of nowhere by
not at
itself.
all.
In order to create this macro environment, it would have needed spectrums of light to reach it that didn't even exist at any time we can see at any point on Earth.
That's stupid.
Okay.
At the very beginning part of protein synthesis for the very first amino acids and building blocks of life, and he'll be like, well, maybe this thing and this thing here and that. I'm like, no, Speed, you don't understand. You basically were expecting for nature to have created a hyper complex gene synthesis lab basically in the middle of nowhere by itself. In order to create this macro environment, it would have needed spectrums of light to reach it that didn't even exist at any time we can see at any point on Earth.
What is he
all of these
talking
things are
about?
required.
I know.
It seems to me that he's assuming that you would have needed, I'm assuming, either X-ray or gamma ray radiation to create life. No, you just need ultraviolet. Anything higher than that is going to destroy most of the compounds that life needs. It's too energetic.
he might be referencing the starlight paradox, which essentially states that like it references the heat that the Earth would have been at, but also it references the fact that since the Earth and the solar system were formed relatively close to the same period of time, the sun wouldn't have been putting out like the same type of UV light that it would.
Oh, you're talking about the faint young sun paradox?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
might
don't
be
know why
referencing that.
people don't just consider the geophysical aspects of the Earth that would have kept it warmer than what it would have been with the sun.
Yeah, but in that case, correct me if I'm wrong, you couldn't be like appealing to like the UV light thing, right?
Well, I don't know why you would need to appeal to particularly UV light to explain why the Earth is so warm when it apparently.
Well, not in terms of like the Earth's heat, but sometimes it's referenced like within the context of forming biomolecules, like from inorganic precursors.
Wait, what? I'm confused.
There's several models, and I think this might be what he's referencing. Is that like a lot of abio research references that one potential way you can get like these lifelike molecules to appear is by very clever like reactions that utilize the ultraviolet light.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, and it's a good question, like would the type of UV light needed for some of those reactions like be there, given the faint young sun paradox?
Probably yes.
Here's the important takeaway. Here's the important takeaway from this. Smokey is pretending he knows something about science, and the way he is talking, it's very clear that he doesn't know a fucking not even a seventh grader. Yeah. So I mean that's the takeaway from that. And he he says I don't understand, and it's like oh my god. So anyway, screw all that. We can move on from that.
Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah.
One thing that's like particularly interesting is that when we appeal to multiple like different routes that certain biomolecules could have been formed, we're expressing like doubt, because when we have multiple ways that something could have occurred, we're not just allowed to say that it was this one way that things like came into existence, because you have competing mechanisms for how things like nucleic acids or proteins or sugars and things like that to have come into being. So you have to consider like various processes occurring simultaneously to account for like the origin of some of those molecules, not just one singular process. And it's that reason like that you'll see a lot of research, and Professor Dave did a great job of this, saying like why, it can't just be one process, or why we're not allowed to say that. Because in short, it's just intellectually dishonest to do so.
Yeah.
Like it's failing to like actually account for the actual complexity that like physical systems, like use to generate those things.
Yep. Have we had a overload on this guy yet, or should we move on?
No, I personally find Smokey's catharsis to be rather entertaining.
Yeah, it is, but is it good for us to even get into
Why
it?
wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't it be entertaining? I agree.
No, why wouldn't it be okay for us to talk about this conversation? I don't understand.
Because it's a shitstorm, and I don't need no shitstorm.
I haven't heard much of a shitstorm play out in this video at all.
I haven't heard much of it yet, so I mean, I don't know.
I'm interested. Let's keep going. If there's a shitstorm, I want to hear it now.
Hey, if there is a shitstorm, let's fucking go.
Let's get on our shit suits and watch what happens, huh?
Let's dive
let's
dive feet first into the septic tank.
What's that?
Let's dive feet first into the septic tank.
Next timestamp?
Yeah.
That was at we're at 3:18. So the next one was where? 3:21.
Well, you have 21 on yours. That's close enough.
Okay.
But speciation events since then have all been due to decreases in information. So you're not going to take a fish.
No, they haven't.
Through decreases in information. Does that make sense, Soren's Lee?
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't disagree with speciation.
By the way,
Standing does not understand information at all.
No,
He
none
doesn't.
of these guys understand information theory. Not a single fucking one of them.
Can we please like hear that again? Because I think I heard something there, but I'm not sure if I heard it correctly.
But speciation events since then have
No,
all
all
been
the way
due
back.
to decreases.
That is all the way
Right.
back. That is all the
It
way
was supposed
back.
to be a little after that, but
Okay, so he was saying something about like all speciations events that have occurred like due to a decrease in genetic information, but you can't get further speciation to occur.
Yeah, like going from house cats or whatever they had on the ark to lions and tigers was a decrease in information under his view.
Right,
Yeah,
but
he
here's the
thinks-
thing though.
He thinks there was an original pattern. Any changes from the original pattern are devolutionary or genetic entropy and all
Yeah.
bad changes. That's what he thinks.
Yeah, those are all just post hoc justifications for their worldview. That's all they are.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though, right? If that is true, which it's not, but if that can occur, right? If you can get speciation due to a lack or due to decrease overall in genetic information, why can't that keep occurring? Like what is the limit like that forbids something like to keep speciating and losing genetic information, like understanding's rationale?
You know how you lose genetic information?
You listen to Standing for Truth.
Touche. You lose a chromosome. That would be how.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
do they
So-
think
so-
that all life is going to just devolve until it can't survive, and all life will go extinct or something?
I don't know
Marty-
because
Marty,
Go ahead.
you guys know the YouTuber Marty Murr?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I think so.
he has a good practical example. He says open up Notepad on your computer, type out a word, and then save it. It has X many bytes. Now open it up, rearrange the letters, and then save it again. It has the same amount of information. It's in a new form, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm remembering it correctly, hopefully I am. That's a good example. Standing for Truth would say that if I rearrange the letters, I've destroyed information, but I haven't. I've got a new arrangement of the letters, and just because it doesn't form an English word doesn't mean that it's lost information. It's the same amount of data in there, and obviously, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's the point that Standing
I feel like I'm on the edge of not quite on what I know.
It could be different because the proteins, if they're not getting built by the DNA or RNA sequences or something, aren't getting the right proteins and stuff, and your macro
It could be
cells
not. It
won't,
could be harmful. Most of them are going to be harmful. Yeah, absolutely. Because most reconfigurations of DNA will be harmful. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we did a little dive into information, and it requires a lot of unpacking. For one thing, there's Shannon information, which I think you were talking about, Brenda, which is just the amount of change that's in a sequence of characters, or the amount of bits of information you would have to represent it. And then there's functional information, which biologists, to my knowledge, have only been able to design for like an enzyme at a very, very rudimentary level. They're trying to define functional information at the phenotypic level, but they haven't yet succeeded in coming up with it. And it's a very, very difficult topic.
Is that what protein folding thing is about?
Well, no, that would be how a certain set of genes create a certain phenotype, and whether or not that phenotype has function, like create a heart, right? And the heart has function. So if you looked at all the genes that went into that would be all the information necessary to create the heart, or your brain, for instance. But unfortunately, the same set of proteins that create your brain create the structure of your face. Some of the same ones, right? So now we're looking at proteins that have multiple functions, and it becomes very murky. And this is something that a lot of biologists are obsessed with these days, but so far they haven't really produced a whole lot of good work.
Would those be called spandrels? Would those be spandrels or just co-functional?
A spandrel would be like the fact that the heart makes noise, which is Danny's famous example. It's something that just comes along with the function, right? Whereas the function of the heart is to basically change the pressure in your circulatory system. That's the function. At least that's what we could call a function. But then if you want to figure out what kind of genetic information went into that, you're looking at an equation that would cover the North American continent if you wrote it out on paper. So it's a very difficult problem. And these guys don't know their butts from a hole in the ground. They throw the word information around only to make it the Bible told me so. That's all they want. So they'll misuse it and abuse it, and they will fight over canon information versus functional information, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They never actually tell you what they're talking about, right?
By the way, I did want to say it's about 9:45 speed, so do with that.
I know,
what
so
you wish.
I just noticed that Leo is wearing a very Hawaiian-esque T-shirt.
Oh, wonderful!
Yep, I'm going Kent Hovind tonight.
I know.
With my red, white, and blue.
I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that.
I just can't believe you think pine trees are related to mosquitoes.
Oh, let's see.
Dr. Josh does the best Kent Hovind.
He does. It's really good. Arden's is pretty good too.
I'm looking forward to Aaron's series on kind of just rebutting Kent's lies in the textbook series.
Yep. By the way, I was just checking. I was looking. There was a video that I saw, some interview that Digital Gnosis is having on his channel. I clicked on his channel just to check it out, just see if there was anything that I missed recently because I subscribed to him about a week ago. He has a video coming up next Saturday at 4:00 p.m. CST between James Fodor and Michael Jones from Inspiring Philosophy on the digital physics argument for God. Ooh. That is going to be a very good discussion because while I admire that argument and its uniqueness, I don't think it's a good argument for the existence of God.
Cool. Can we get a link for that? I could find
it's either gonna go badly for IP, or IP is gonna have to move significantly away from Orthodox Christianity to maintain.
Well, and that's the thing in that debate. He's because that's what he does when he debates just base theistic arguments. Is he says, I'm not arguing for any particular God. I'm just arguing some base theistic or deistic God. So that's exactly what he's going to say.
I don't think they'll let him get away with it, though.
Well, he does that in all of his debates.
At least I hope he does.
About specifically Christianity. If it's not about specifically Christianity, so like in his debate that he had, I don't know if it was with Matt Dillahunty or somebody else, where it was just, does God exist? He said, I'm not arguing for a Christian God, a Muslim God, a Hindu God. I'm not arguing for any God of any specific religion. I'm just establishing that some theistic or deistic God exists. That's perfectly fine to do. I don't know why he can't do that. Because it's not about, does the digital physics argument prove the Christian God? It's about, does the digital physics argument demonstrate that some God exists? Doesn't matter what religion it belongs to.
Okay, boys and girls, I put that link to that particular video in the description and put it in chat just now. So,
well, thank you.
I am really excited
here.
That one.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. James is very good. James Folder.
Does he understand physics pretty well?
He's a very smart individual. I've listened to a bunch of, fair amount of his stuff, and I've never seen him debate or anything, but he's done lots of reviews on a lot of stuff on IP.
There's two main criticisms with IP's digital physics argument that I would have, and the first one is that it relies on the concept of it relies on the holographic principle, which hasn't yet been verified. Although it's likely it could be true. I wouldn't say I necessarily favor it, but I tend to think that it probably is true.
Huh,
And
I
then-
thought the holographic principle is already kind of shown to be correct.
No, it's not been verified yet. It's an idea
really?
that a lot of physicists work with, but it hasn't been verified yet. So his argument relies on that, which is okay, but it doesn't get him to the conclusions that he thinks. And then the other aspect that it relies on that's problematic is the whole consciousness causes collapse idea.
Yeah,
Because
that's
what he's
just-
essentially going to be arguing is that what we call physical reality, based on what we've learned from quantum mechanics, is just a processing of information in a greater mind, and that is the mind of God. So that's essentially going to be that's the basis of his digital physics argument.
Yeah, I never liked that interpretation of quantum mechanics, the usually attributed to like von Neumann.
Von Neumann-Wigner interpretation, yeah. It never even really took off. And to Korag Nightwolf, I've watched some of IP's videos on this. He seems to have a decent understanding of some of this stuff. I've never had a discussion with him. I don't know how deep his understanding goes, whether conceptually or technically. I mean, oh Lord, there's a number of questions I'd have to ask him, or I just have to have a whole ass discussion with him on it to know, for me to be able to comment on how well he actually understands physics. I would imagine he doesn't have a lax understanding of it, but
By the way,
his understanding could fail in certain areas.
There is Audible, or there's a book that they've been throwing around on a bunch of different streams on quantum mechanics, written by a bunch of laymen, and they claim it's really good.
Who?
I'm trying to find it here. Your next listen is right. Quantum Enigma. They've been a bunch of the Christians. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's Rick Delano and Robertson Jenness dealing with.
Oh God!
I think something to deal with, not Stephen Wolfram, but
Bruce Rosenblum and Fred Kutner.
Let me look this up quick because
Quantum Enigma. Anyway, so
hey, that
I got it
James
on
Fodor,
Audible for free.
Is that going to be a debate, or is that just going to be a discussion? Did you say, Leo?
I think it was.
Oh no, it's a debate.
It's a debate. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I predict that's going to be like a long one for some reason. I can just see those two going at it pretty
But
good.
now that this is specifically on the digital physics argument, when I watch this, I will be able. I mean, obviously, I'm going to figure out how much James Fodor knows, but I'm going to be able to really see how much IP actually knows about the subject. I don't think that he knows like very little, but I would presume that there are probably some places where he has some misconceptions.
Yeah. I bet it'll be good though. I'd love to say. I'm looking forward to that actually. I bet it's going to be good.
Let me make sure I got this.
I'm surprised they'll use this defense, but they could always bring up the point that anybody who thinks they understand quantum mechanics does not understand quantum mechanics.
Yeah,
when people quote that, I just laugh because it's obvious that they don't understand quantum mechanics because they don't understand why that quote just doesn't apply anymore.
It was on.
No, I think it's. I do think like there's a breath of sincerity in it though too. I mean, quantum theory is mathematically simple, but epistemologically challenging to deal with.
This bullshit about the observer effect. Maddox was going on about it again. It's a slam dunk.
It's not really bullshit. It is an unresolved problem in the Copenhagen interpretation and in most interpretations. Well, I shouldn't say most.
But I mean, the part that's bullshit is that it's not going to happen unless a human is around.
Yeah,
that's what they believe.
The observer effect is essentially telling us why is it that we can't definitively know what a quantum system is doing until we physically interact with it in some way to derive that knowledge.
Yeah, and it's how do you measure things?
Most probable example is that, well, and the thing is that some physicists think that decoherence fully solves that. A lot of other physicists think that decoherence partially solves it, but doesn't really fully solve the problem. So it's one of those problems that most physicists just don't really care about because it doesn't matter to our ability to utilize it to understand reality and to make predictions and develop better technology and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's more of a philosophy of science thing than it is an actual empirical science thing.
Yep.
You could go with spontaneous collapse theory, but then again,
which is dumb. I'm sorry, it's just dumb. Spontaneous collapse is so dumb.
Really?
Yes, it's dumb.
I don't know. It's It works mathematically.
Well, I don't think. Well, yeah, the string theory works mathematically, but it's never been actually used in making any real predictions about the world because it's useless. I mean, you can make things mathematically rigorous, and it's cool and everything, and it's good. It'll roll for a while, but it's still useless. Just like ekpyrotic models to replace inflationary theory they're not used by cosmologists because they're useless. Mathematically consistent, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just useless. They don't seem to line up with the way that our reality operates.
Have we ever seen spontaneous collapse occur?
No. What does spontaneous collapse even mean? I mean,
it means that there's a probability that the wave function will decohere without any other process, interacting with the particle that the wave function governs.
If you take the wave function collapse as not an actual physical thing, which most physicists would, or if you take the Everettian interpretation where wave function collapse doesn't actually occur, then the whole objective collapse thing or the spontaneous collapse makes no sense. I think spontaneous collapse, objective collapse, I think those are the same idea, the same foundation.
I believe they are. Yeah.
Because in order for it to be spontaneous, the collapse has to be an objective thing in reality, and I don't think it is, and at least from the one study that not really study, but poll that I looked at, it's not really strongly adhered to at all.
And mostly it's between the Everettian model and the Copenhagen interpretation.
Yeah.
In a book, either by Sean Carroll or one of those guys that I recently purchased and started looking at, they explained it fairly simply that when you measure a table with a ruler, you're actually changing the table with the ruler, but you can't tell, so it doesn't fucking matter. But when you're measuring a particle, you necessarily have to interact with that particle. You end up. Hang on a second. That's the one I think. That one or one of the other ones.
It is in this book.
Anyway,
Yes.
So and then they go on to explain that, well, okay, then we can start measuring it, but then they show you how it gets weird, and it does get fucking weird, but it doesn't get weird because of the observer effect. The observer effect is basically the measurement perturbation. You can't possibly measure a system that small without hitting it with something equally of its size. It'd be like measuring a table by dropping a boulder on it. Right?
When you measure the system, that you have to do something to the system, which is going to change the way the system evolves. Because what you measure is always inherently going to be different than what the system would be doing if it was never interacted with. Yes.
Yeah, but then they do explain that it does get weird from there, and that's where we have trouble wrapping our minds around the whole thing.
This is a conceptual understanding of the subject, nothing to do with the way that reality works. This is just we don't understand this because we're not used to dealing with things operating in this manner or having these characteristics or these behaviors in our everyday lives. We're just not used to that. We don't know how to intuit that. That's why quantum mechanics is difficult. The math, in my opinion, the math is easier than learning fucking Lagrangian mechanics, which
it is.
Don't try that. Just don't try. Just don't even bother. Basic quantum mechanics is just single variable basic quantum mechanics generally starts in single variable and then you work into more, but it's really not all that difficult. It's really not. It's just hard to intuitively conceptualize.
Yeah.
I would say the easiest part of it is the differential equations crap. That's easy to deal with.
That's really not that hard.
The linear algebra crap, though, it's a fucking nightmare to.
It can be for me, and I'm not deep into linear algebra. I'm still learning very much the basics of it, but thus far, I haven't found much of a struggle learning it. But that could very, very easily change. So, and I know that when you start getting into naive linear algebra, it all comes down to what kind of matrices you're working with, the operations between them, what you're trying to derive out of that can all have an effect on how difficult what you're working with actually is.
Okay, so I put the link in chat again. I think we're going to end this. We're going over to Amy's, I think, and watch Amy's Midnight Ranting. Okay.
Is it an open stream or just a ranting?
Yes, open stream.
Okay.
Her and James usually start out 5, 10, 15 minutes or so, and then they'll throw the link out, and people can come in, and then they they'll bring a person in, 5, 10 minutes of discussion, bring another person in, same thing, and just kind of go down the list. But they do get everybody in. Yep.
Okay, so we're going to shoot this in the head. Ending the broadcast.
Stay curious.
This
Goodbye,
means
cruel
peace
world.
among worlds. This means peace among worlds.
Okay, and goodbye, cruel world. Fuck it all.